My dad's not a tech guy. He probably just got an iPhone. Who knows? He responds immediately, and he goes, "Don't do anything rash. Just come home. We'll talk about it." We're just like weeping, crying, praying. My dad goes, "Hey, like, I don't know what the Lord has in store for you, but you never quit a day in your life. Just see it through. It's not about anything besides loving the community and loving the kids, because the worst thing I can ever imagine is not having that opportunity." You know what I mean? I'm just trying to bring a slight of hope. I mean, that's why I love the logo. I think I have it. It's like a little leaf coming out. It's dirt.
Yeah.
So like something's growing out of a bad environment.
Hey everybody, welcome to The Good Hustle, episode 29.
29.
29 and 29 weeks.
29.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I've not
That's
done
like a lot of the year, right? Isn't that like half the year?
over half.
Yeah.
Right? 26? Yeah.
We are truly doing this.
Yeah, we're doing something, all right.
I'm part of something special.
You are.
You really are.
Hashtag blessed.
Yeah, hashtag blessed. Amen, amen. What do we do?
So John and I are both realtors here in central Pennsylvania, if you did not know. So if you're looking to buy or sell or invest here in the area, John and I would love to help you.
Yeah, and today we have another cool show. So I am a diehard Penn State fan, so I got to go to a Penn State golf tournament, which we'll talk a little bit more about here in part of this episode. But I got to meet a really cool guy. So he was a professional athlete for many years. He was a state college grad, so he was a high school kid from State College.
A14, baby.
A14, yep.
Through and through.
A14.
Townie.
Hometown boy.
Yeah.
I just called my mom a townie the other day.
She got mad at you, right?
No. Penn's a PSU star, and he had a long career in the NFL and with the Giants and the Saints, but mostly the most important things about our guest today: he's a great dad, he's a believer, he's a husband, and he's a creator of a nonprofit called State of Hope.
Yeah. So I guess starting out, what was it like growing up in State College?
Oh, State College. It is such a wonderful, beautiful area, and I don't think you appreciate it until you actually grow up and start having a family. When you're a kid, you're just like, man, there's really nothing to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Growing up, I mean, I was in sports all the time, so I was always busy. But coming back from being so many different places in the NFL, and we're continuing to grow our family. And I mean, we've been to major cities, New York, we've been in San Francisco, we've been down into Georgia and Atlanta, and we're just like, man, like we thought we were going to be down in the South or something like that. But State College is such a beautiful bubble, and it's just an amazing place to raise a family. I understand why my parents ended up living there as well, and my wife's family is actually there too. They're 5 minutes down the road, and my parents are 17 miles or 17 minutes away. So
Yeah, because they're a little east. Is that where they are?
we're all in State College.
You're all in State College,
Yeah.
okay.
Big happy family. My best friend, one of my best friends, my little brother Robbie, lives 2.5 miles down the road
That's
as well.
amazing.
That's
We
sick.
built right by each other during COVID, and like
Who
it's
built
just-
your house?
Bozak Construction,
Okay, I don't
Brendan
know that.
Glantz.
Yeah,
So
that's awesome.
He
Well,
did a good job.
And the market, the real estate market up there, actually, like you said, you used the word bubble.
Yeah.
It is a bubble there because the market up there for real estate, we have a great market down here, but that bubble, like people want to be there.
Yeah,
They really want to be there.
especially recently with all of this, Verbo and the renting for
Airbnb.
football games and stuff like that. Especially with how the whole NIL collective stuff is completely changing college football.
Yeah.
Now we're getting USC and UCLA and Washington, so it's kind of driving that market in State College even more. So it's pretty cool.
It's going to be neat to watch all these teams come from 3 time zones away
Yeah,
to
Yeah,
play
that's
too,
weird.
because
it's
it's
tough.
going to be so odd. But I think it'll help out those schools too, because they're going to have more primetime East games.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, and I don't think those athletes necessarily hurt from that, but some schools' athletes, I think, hurt from the times that their games are played. And I mean, it can actually cause a difference. I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about.
There's so much science behind
There
that.
is.
In the NFL, we had like scientists behind of like, hey, how much sleep you need, how much water you have to drink before this type of game
really?
and stuff like that. And I mean, at least I found it harder to go to West Coast game personally because I just always felt groggy because it's just completely off because it's 3 hours ahead.
different.
Yeah.
And you're on I lived out there for a long period of time, and it feels like a different world out there, especially when you're from the East Coast, because like it's night and day. When you're getting done with
sure.
work, everyone's going to bed.
So when did you start really getting into football growing up? Like, were you always involved in football?
Yeah, it was built into our blood. I mean, my uncle, my dad played. All my uncles played. My dad played at Penn State. I mean, most famous uncle would be my uncle Jeff Hostetler. He started at Penn State. Not many people know that. And there's a backstory to that, but he ended up transferring to West Virginia and becoming the starter and whatnot, and having an amazing career. He played 15 years in the NFL.
Yeah,
and
What a stud.
yeah, and won Super Bowl 25 with the Giants.
Yeah.
1990.
Right.
Yeah.
Didn't he fill in for, was it Chris Sims?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wasn't that was the
Phil
Norwood?
Phil.
That was the Norwood kick.
Was
that
it
the Ride White?
Wide right?
Yeah, that was wide right. Yeah, that was. I remember that when I was a kid because my sister's a Bills fan.
Yeah,
And,
I think Whitney Houston did halftime.
No way.
Yeah,
Yes.
it was like
Yeah.
an amazing Super Bowl, and the most famous play was my uncle was getting sacked or something, and he ended up taking a safety, but the guy grabbed my uncle's forearm like this, and he was holding the ball. And somehow he brought it back in and just didn't fumble it. And that could have been the game because the game came down to like a couple points.
Yeah,
So,
which is amazing.
That's insane.
Yeah, and you did mention like, and I wrote it down here. Like you also have elite level football in your blood, which you just said. Like your uncle Jeff Hostetler, Hostetler won the Super Bowl in 1990, had an amazing NFL career. Your dad played, and then also you had a brother that played in the NFL. Like, when you look at inspiration for people that were close to you, like, because I know who inspires me to do better at my job, my career, or just being a better man. I can pinpoint those people throughout my life.
Yeah.
Like for you, who was more inspiring? Like, was your brother like a huge part of that? Your brother John?
I think it was, first of all, I just want to say the first person who inspires me is Jesus Christ, because that's why I played, to give glory to him. And my most favorite scene was when Desmond Washington walked on the field during remember the Titans. He goes, "This is my sanctuary." You know what I mean? Like I'm out there to worship. And now, granted, I kind of get into a different mindset on that football field, which I don't know if Jesus would approve it. But that's first and foremost, because he does all things through Christ who strengthens me, and do it with all your heart and soul for him.
And that's the same way we are.
Yeah.
With everything that we do.
But for me, on a earthly level, I think it was a collective effort, because growing up, my dad, Steve, really instilled into us hard work ethic. Respect the women around you, treat them like princesses, and work your butt off. And whether that was pulling weeds, doing mulching. My dad owns a commercial cleaning company, which I would be waking up and going to do Arts Fest in the morning, clean the streets, picking up cigarette butts, pissing buckets. So like doing the dirty work.
Were you in Philly? Because that's a Philadelphia thing.
No, that's
piss in a bucket.
That's
I peed in a bucket
downtown
once.
state. That's downtown State College.
At the vet.
That sounds like you.
I did. It was terrible, guys.
But no, that's after a Penn State win, football weekends and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So I would help my dad with that. Then someone who else would drive me would be John, my older brother. He kind of paved the way for us, because no one knew the Stupar name. You know what I mean? They knew the Hostetler name, and once they understood like the connection. But John, he played 3 years for the Buffalo Bills, and he was a tight end. He just grinded, man, and he broke through a lot of walls in State College through the athletic department and stuff like that. And that's how the Stupar name came about a little bit. And then all of a sudden I came up like, "Oh, you're John's brother and you're Stupar, blah, blah, blah." And we both played the same position. We were both the same football number 88. We were both tight ends and defensive ends and stuff like that.
Okay.
And my biggest goal was to play college ball with him at least 1 year, because he was 4 years older and he went to UVA, and I thought I was going to go there, and I wanted to play 1 year, and it didn't work out that way. And but I got to play high school ball with my little brother Robbie.
Oh, nice.
And it was fun doing that for at least 1 year.
Yeah,
So
that's
it was
awesome.
Fun. It was fun.
Yeah, because it's. Well, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I was just following along with the story. So at what point do you start thinking about, like, obviously you're a State College guy and your whole family's there and stuff. At what point do you start thinking, like, you know what, I'm just going to go and, be at Penn State?
Man, it was a long journey because I remember getting my first scholarship offer. I was down at a UVA camp, and Outgrow was a coach and everything like that, and John was at UVA, and I haven't had a scholarship offer yet. And I went down there for a tight end and linebacker camp. And I remember we did these like wide receiver drills as like a tight end, and I botched them completely because I never ran like routes.
Okay.
I
was
just
high
like,
school. You're a big kid.
I was high school, like sophomore going to junior year, stuff like that. And they're like, "Hey, do this 2-3 steps and cut here." Blah blah. I was like, I just got open, kind of thing. And I botched them. And I remember they gather us up and they split us up in 2 groups. And they're like, "Hey, that group go down here, down the hill, and do some drills, and this other group over here." I'm like, "Okay, yeah, cool." And I start going down the hill and I start looking around the people around me. I'm like, I'm in the sucky group. I'm like, are you kidding me? I go, I am so much better than this. So I said, screw that. I left that group and went back up there and went into the other group, and they were doing one-on-ones against like DBs and linebackers, like their top linebackers. And I was doing the tight end, and I absolutely smoked everybody. And that just like went boom. And ever since that moment at camp, my career skyrocketed with scholarships, because I remember done with the camp, and Outgrow comes up to me. He goes, "Hey, I just want to let you know we're going to be offering you a full ride scholarship." And I'm just like,
wow.
And you were a sophomore going into your junior year?
yeah, I'm just like,
That's got to feel
it was a verbal offer because they couldn't do
right.
written
They
offers.
could do right.
And I'm like, did that just happen? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But to answer your question, I had my top 3 picks was Virginia, West Virginia, and Penn State.
Virginia because of your brother.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And West Virginia because we had so much ties with West Virginia.
Right, with your uncle playing there and all that stuff.
And I just remember one, I loved film and video in high school. I had a teacher, Mr. Alisi, which I still talk to today.
Oh, nice.
And he inspired me with that type of world and computers and animation, stuff like that, and filming. And I always wanted to do that in college. And Penn State was really the only one out of those schools. And it actually worked out that Penn State was, linebacker U.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Oh,
so
yeah.
it was just like, I remember when Chris Colasani committed and they were only taking 3 linebackers. And I'm like, well, I got to be number 2 because I'm not waiting for the 3rd.
Yeah.
And Chris committed super, super early, which I was really mad about because I wanted to enjoy the process.
Yeah.
But so I ended up, committing like closely after that.
Right.
And but I'll never regret it. I didn't have the college career that I wanted, but it definitely helped me be formed into the man that I need to be to have such a long NFL career.
Well, and what I hear, like especially when you're talking about this, is, over the last couple of years of my life, I've grown a lot.
Yeah.
Like I'm 44, you're
36.
36, whatever. Yeah. But the last like 2 years, I've grown more than I have in a long time.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I'm doing 110%.
Yeah.
And like that day that you got to do those drills and like you had to feel good, like, you know what? I am better than these guys. And not in an egotistical way, but in a way like, you know what? I can do this.
Yeah.
And if I put my mind and effort where my heart is, and all thanks to God, like I can do this and move forward. Like if I put 110% in everything that I'm doing, I know it's all going to work out.
Yeah.
Like, and that's just got to feel amazing. Because I think the story's really neat that you're a hometown kid. I'm glad you went to Penn State.
Yeah, selfishly.
Because
It worked out. Hindsight's 2020.
And then you have a lot of great memories. And playing high school ball up there, how much fun was that? Like to play high school ball, go to the Penn State game on Saturday, have a game Friday night, go to a game on Saturday. Like, what was that like as a kid? Like, to me, that would have been like the most fun thing.
I mean, for me, it wasn't even like that at all. It was, I played my high school game.
Yep.
And even going to my senior year, I never felt like I was that great. I knew I was good, but every single game was just like, I got to make these plays. I got to make these plays. I got to make these plays. I always had that chip on my shoulder where I had my plays. And immediately after my football game, we would go drive down to Virginia. Because every weekend
your brother's
we
playing.
would go see Virginia.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
So we would always get down there late, stay in a hotel room. One day, because John was close with like Chris Long and Howie Long and stuff like that, we stayed at their house and a couple
That's really
times.
neat.
And got to meet the Longs and stuff like that.
So cool.
And which are great people. And So that was our weekends. So we would get back like late Saturday night or early Sunday and just be completely exhausted.
Yeah.
So that was our weekend.
Rest on Sunday.
I really didn't go up to a lot of Penn State games.
Yeah.
No offense, Penn State fans, but I could care less because I enjoyed
your own thing.
I enjoyed being home.
Yeah.
In the AC.
Yeah.
And watching it.
Well, you played the night before. You traveled.
Yeah. And sometimes, you know what? It's nice to like close your eyes and take a little snooze sometimes. You know?
I had a buddy I played football with growing up, Art Thomas. He ended up going to UVA.
Yeah.
And he actually had a 92-yard fumble return to beat Penn State one year.
Really?
Like, it would have been somewhere in your brother's years.
Okay.
Because he was only a year younger than me, so he's 43. So it might have been a little bit
you're
before
good.
Your brother, but
Yeah.
I'll never forget that. I was so mad. And like, he was like a friend of mine, and I didn't like it. I was like, I'd rather Penn State win than my friend beat Penn State.
And remember, I don't think they had some good records those couple years.
They did not.
They didn't. I remember Virginia, they were kind of ranked couple because it was like the Matt Schaub and Miller as the tight end, and they had some.
Matt Schaub went there.
Yeah, Matt Schaub.
They had some weapons, and they actually played like really, really good season. So it was fun watching.
What's interesting to me too is like you said, well, I didn't really feel like I was all that good, like playing football and stuff. And I wonder if that's partly because your bar for what's good is like way up here with the fact that your brother and your uncle and all those guys are.
Yeah, I don't think it's that. It's just I maybe it's just because I feel like I have a very humble mentality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, don't get that twisted. I was very cocky at the same time. Yeah. And I feel like that can coexist because once you get on that field, if you do not have that cocky, confident mentality, you can't play. But like that mentality is different from making plays, I feel like, because when I made it, I'm like, how does this little kid from State College do this?
Yeah.
Like I sacked Cam Newton one year. I had an 85-yard touchdown return, fumble recovery for a touchdown against the Texans. Yeah, and my brother played 3 years. My brother played 3 years as a tight end in the NFL, and I have more touchdowns than him. So. Sorry, John. Sorry, John.
My buddy Mike Cox played for. Mike Cox, local guy. He has one touchdown.
Yeah.
His wife only ever missed one of his games, and he had a long career as a fullback, and it was that game, and it was against the Patriots and Tom Brady.
Yeah.
And I intercepted Russell Wilson. Granted, backstory to that,
that's so cool.
He stiff armed me in the face when he was at Wisconsin. There's like a slow-mo picture of me getting stiff arm trying to tackle him. So I got him back, which I want him to sign the football one day, which would be really cool.
Shout out Russell Wilson. You gotta check this out.
But like when he threw that ball when I was with New Orleans, like I just reacted and I just remember the ball going here. I'm still looking this way. I'm just going like this. And I caught it and just fell. And I'm fully extended like 10 degrees in the air. And I come down with it. I'm like, how did I just do that?
That's amazing.
And I'm just like,
well, he's in Pittsburgh now. He's not that far.
I know,
Go out there and get him to sign it.
Russell, please.
We'll post this on Ben, that's your job. All right? Tag
DM Russell Wilson real quick.
We need to get this ball signed.
But no, I remember when I was at the Combine and a lot of scouts were like, little shout out to Russell if you're ever going to watch this. They always ask like, who's the most underrated person in the draft? I'm like, Russell Wilson. Yeah. I'm like, he's going to win a Super Bowl. He's
still one of the only, like, what is it, 4th round pick, 3rd round pick? I can't remember.
I don't know.
He's still one of the only mid-round picks that ended up as
all I know is I'm like, that boy is a baller and very smart, very fast.
Yep. In his prime, he was the man.
I know. And when I played him with the Saints, he had like a bum knee a little bit. I'm like, thank the Lord. No offense. I'm just like, you couldn't run that well. So I didn't want to get stiff armed in the face.
I like
again,
how we're talking to him like he's going to hear this. Like, let's just hope. Let's just hope. That'd be cool. Why don't you talk about let's hear some of his stats at State College.
Yeah, so you ended up having a really good career.
I think it's these are good numbers.
These might be inflated because
that's okay.
I don't think we had stat people, but we'll see.
There's definitely stat.
We'll see. Well, there's some stat people to listen to this. So you recorded some big time numbers. Okay, you had 205 career tackles. You had 14.5 tackles for loss, 5 sacks, 4 interceptions, and then you were drafted by the Raiders. I said I was going to do a Chris Bringle voice. Was that good?
The Raiders.
Only 5 sacks though? Or are you talking about like my sophomore year?
You have
sophomore
to
year. Yeah, this was sophomore year stuff. This was 1 year.
I was going to say.
And then you ended up being drafted in the 7th round. So reading all that back, how do you feel about your Penn State career?
It was okay, man. I mean, I was never considered the starter, and It was tough for me because I had like a vision of how it would go, and it was not anything what I thought it would be. And I'm really thankful for how it was because like I was a defensive end and I converted to a linebacker, so it was a completely new position for me. So every single year I got better, but it wasn't good enough to be that starter. In hindsight, looking back on it, I completely understand what they saw, but I still think, me being selfish, they could have handled it different. And at least my senior year, because every single year it was always like me battling against Mike Motti.
Yeah, Mike Motti.
And Mike Motti, shout out to you. Me and him are really good friends now.
Yeah, because he's up there with you now at State College.
Yeah, he's at Penn State now.
We're trying to get him on the show as well.
And we're at the Saints together. And since football ended, we're able to like get away from the competitiveness finally and actually grow as like friends. You know what I mean? Because we were always being competitors. But him coming to Penn State, as much as it sucked competing against him, he made me push myself to the brink.
Yeah.
And I didn't have that in high school. And so like he was my mountain that I had to face every single day.
And he was a year behind you, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they always chose him because he's such a natural leader. People just follow him of how powerful, you know. I mean, just look at like the whole thing that happened, you know, in 2013 and stuff like that.
Because your last season was the last,
Yeah,
was the end of an
2012.
era, obviously, and then Bill
Yeah.
O'Brien comes in the next year.
And so like a prime example with that and just the plays he made. I mean, he was a very emotional player that just made plays. You know what I mean? And not taking away, I didn't make plays, but he was a hard-nosed physical linebacker. And for me, I had to grow into that, which came later in the NFL. And in college, I was more of a elusive, more agile linebacker. I didn't like taking on the fullback.
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
In the NFL, I still didn't like to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I wasn't the greatest at that. I was more elusive, pass coverage, one-on-one. And that's why I loved Dennis Allen's defense when I was with the Saints.
Yeah.
I loved it because it fit who I was as a player. So my college career wasn't the greatest, but it developed me to have such a long career because Ron Vanderlinde instilled as much of how hard and tough he was on me. He instilled so many qualities of an amazing linebacker that you saw in Sean Lee, Dan Connor, Paul Leslie, Navarro Bowman,
All those guys.
Gerald Hodges, Mike
Navarro Bowman,
Motti,
too.
Mike
Motti.
Hall. Like I'm just naming a few that I remember, and like that's a huge list.
It's a giant list.
And my senior year, when we went into like OTAs or like a spring ball, it was me at Sam, Mike Motti at middle, and Gerald Hodges at will. I'm like, we are going to tear it up this year.
Oh, yeah.
I ended up pulling my hamstring like halfway through spring ball. Didn't get played in the spring game, whatnot. Go the off season. Then we go into training camp. And I go into the lock in our linebacker room, and all of a sudden they move Mike Motti over and they put a young guy, Glenn Carson, to Mike linebacker as a starter. And I just went into a deep pit, deep hole. Not a lot of people know, but I tried to transfer. I tried to transfer.
It wasn't the way it is now either.
I graduated already, so I didn't have to stay. I could leave. So I tried to transfer to West Virginia because my uncle.
Yeah.
They ran like a 2-5. They had like 5 linebackers. It didn't work out. Then I tried to transfer to Cal UPA to play with my little brother to go down a level.
Robbie.
Just like,
Yep.
and ball out and just have a good time. It didn't work out. But that didn't work out either. So it was one of those things where I decided to grind it out. And I remember I balled out that spring ball, and we went to like a senior breakfast with Joe Pa, and unprovoked, Joe Pa even brought up like, I don't know who the starter going to be with Mike and Nate. And I'm like, oh, I got a chance. But as the season rolled out, I maybe played like 4 or 5 plays out of like 3 or 4 games.
Wow, really?
Yeah. And this is probably really, really unknown, but the game after, I believe, I'm going to botch this, it might have been Indiana. Mike undercut a corner route to intercept the ball to bring us back and win the game. And I'm just like, well, I'm not playing this season. You know what I mean? I'm not playing. I was begging to play special teams, and I was one of the best special teams players on the team.
Well, and that's one of the things that carried your career, too, to the next level. But go ahead.
And they weren't letting me. I was begging to play, and they weren't letting me. So I don't know what was going on. But anyways, we're getting ready for, I think, like Eastern Michigan or a team like that. And I remember after Wednesday practice, I took my gloves off, threw them on the field, and I go, I quit.
Ooh.
And I go to my locker room. I text my dad. I go, Dad, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. And I'm like trying to hold back tears like at my locker with like people around me. And my dad's not a tech guy. He probably just got an iPhone. Who knows? He responds immediately and he goes, don't do anything rash. Just go come home. We'll talk about it. And I'm like, okay, fine. And I go and shower and just trying to hold things back. And I immediately leave because my parents are only like 3 miles away. So I go home. We're sitting on the front porch. And me, my mom, and my dad, and we're just like weeping, crying, praying. And my dad goes, hey, like, I don't know what the Lord has in store for you, but you never quit a day in your life. He goes, you have a couple more games left, like 7 or 8 or 9. I forget how many. But he goes, just see it through. He goes, when you're done with that, it's not like you're playing anyway. So, like, it's not that hard on your body. So you just see it through. And if it's not in the Lord's will to keep going, I'm like, that's it. And I wanted to marry Marissa, my girlfriend at the time, which is now my wife, going on 12 years with 4 little girls.
Shout out Marissa.
And,
Marissa with 2 S's?
Marissa. I had to say that.
It's like Mississippi. I got to spell it.
And so I was ready to move on with my life, with everything I've been through. And so I ended up staying. And we're playing the next game. Didn't play a single down. I go to my dad on the sideline because he's alumni. He goes, well, doesn't this suck? I'm like, yeah. I walk away from him, just watching the game. And I'm like, I'm just going to watch Mike this play. I think it was like the second quarter, late in the second quarter. And I think he went to go make a tackle in like an open B gap and stuff. And the guy cut back and his leg locked up.
Oh, no.
I actually remember when he got hurt.
And I'm just like, what? And he just goes down. He's on all fours. He looks up. And I swear, me and him lock eyes. And I'm just looking at him. And he's looking at me. And I'm just like, stay down. Because I think I knew what happened. He tore his ACL again.
Oh.
And I'm like, are you kidding me? And the whole thing, the cart coming out and doing that. And I never want to have my opportunity, something from that.
No.
You know what I mean?
I understand completely.
Because I've been through it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a crazy story in the end. But the quick synopsis is I go in, first play, I have a sack. I go start 9 or 8 games. I end up going to the combine, going to get drafted, having 8 years. But later in my NFL career, to make it full circle, in 2017, I was playing for the Saints, and Mike got cut, during OTAs and stuff like that. And I tear my ACL like early, probably like game 6 in the season. Guess who they bring back?
Mike Motti.
Like,
Motzilla.
That's crazy.
Amazing.
So
What a full circle.
You don't believe in something more powerful than yourself?
We could write a book on this. It'd be amazing. And for me to get my opportunity from his ACL, for him to get another year from my ACL, is just showing you God's sense of humor of being like, dude, you are so intertwined with this guy, you have no idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Mike has always been in my heart. He's such an amazing dude, such a passionate dude.
And he was local, so he was coaching at Trinity up the street, which is a
with
local
Jordan
high school
Hill.
with Jordan Hill. But the biggest thing, which I want him on the show, so we'll talk about that. But the biggest thing that but diehard Penn State fan. Like, I love Penn State football. I love the town. I love the fans, blue and white. Like, the simplicity of the uniform. Like, it's in my blood. One of my first memories as a kid was the 1986 National Championship game. I was 6 years old. I remember jumping off the couch with the last interception of the game. They intercepted Vinny Testaverde like 4 times that game. Yeah. But in 2012, when everything happened and it looked like the whole team was just going to completely fall apart, the leadership ability of Mike Motti was what held that squad together.
Yeah.
Like, and to me, to see something like that, to have the ability to hold an entire team together, which was, I mean, a lot of kids did leave.
Yeah.
But the ability for him to hold whatever 100 kids there was unbelievable. His leadership ability. And for you to be able to, fill in for him and then him fill in for you later on in your career, I think is a pretty
Yeah.
Pretty. Yeah, and you're right. It's God's sense of humor is twisted sometimes. It is.
Yeah.
It
Do
is.
not,
didn't
lean,
involve,
do not, do not lean on your own understanding.
No, because I always say, you want to tell God a joke, tell him your plans.
Yeah.
Right.
Because he'll laugh right at it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So,
for sure.
so, and then obviously knowing, like at the same time, like you get drafted 7th round, late pick.
Yep.
I mean, in your brain, you have to think like, okay, for me to make a 53-man roster, I'm going to have to put the work in.
That's anywhere.
It is.
It's anywhere.
Yes, 100% true.
It doesn't matter where.
You're right.
It doesn't matter when you picked.
But you have to be like, oh my gosh, well, it's time to get to work again. Like,
Well, I was super excited because
I would be too.
Yeah.
So what was draft day like for you? Where were you whenever you got picked?
I was at. I went down to my little brother's spring game at Cal UPA, and I'm on my phone the whole entire time, just looking at the draft picks. I'm like, I'm better. Oh, phone's almost dead, and the game's over. We say hi to Robbie, like, hey, we gotta get back. I was there with my parents and Marissa, and we start driving back, and we're going 99, back to State College, and Miami calls, and Miami's like, hey, we got 2 last picks in the 7th round. We're gonna pick you with one of those. I'm like, oh, let's go. I'm going to Miami. I'm like, let's go.
That's awesome. I'm a Dolphins fan, so that would have been awesome.
Yeah, he's a diehard Dolphins fan.
And
I still like Ray Finkel.
yeah. And it's funny because I'm like, oh, like I remember like my dad took my little brother to one of the Super Bowls with Uncle Jeff and stuff like that. And it was the Raiders against the Dolphins and stuff like that. And I stole my brother's tattoos, like the little tattoos he put on. And it was the Raiders versus Dolphins, and which is ironic now that I think about it. And I remember the picks come up, and they took a wide receiver for the first one. I'm like, oh, I can't wait to get this call. And they picked another wide receiver.
No.
So what?
And I'm just like, what? And you start looking at the other picks. I'm like, I didn't talk to them. I'm like, there's only like 10, 15 picks left. I'm like, I'm not getting picked if no one's called me. Wow. And all of a sudden, I'm just like sitting there just depleted. And all of a sudden, my phone starts going off. And I have like the NFL theme going off. And it's unknown. It's like a number from like Oakland, California. Yeah. I'm like, who's Oakland? Who's calling me from Oakland? Because I'm not even thinking about that anymore. I'm like, it's over. It's over. I'm like, I have to pick a team or something like that. My dad's driving. He's like, it's the Raiders. Pick it up. It was Dennis Allen, and
which is cool.
Reggie
Dennis Allen,
McKenzie, the GM, calling me and stuff like that. And it was surreal, man. It was surreal getting picked up, and all of a sudden, nonstop phone. I was a 7th round pick, 230, and my phone was just blowing up nonstop. And I'm trying to talk to Dennis Allen and stuff like that. You can't even hear it, and which is pretty cool because DA ended up becoming my defensive coordinator with the Saints, and I have nothing but respect for him. He's such an intelligent man and a fun guy to be around in that defensive room.
And you had like such an amazing career because you went from there to the Saints where you had a really great career. You played under, I mean, obviously it was a great organization, great head coach, defensive minded. It was an awesome place to play. Yeah. And like you said also, and it was your 5th or whatever season, you tear your ACL, right? You have a game, you tear your ACL.
Yeah.
You end up at some point getting released from them, and then you go to New York.
Yeah. So, I mean, all in chronological order because I went Raiders, Eagles, 49ers, Jacksonville, Jaguars, Falcons. So my career kind of really took off my 2nd year with the Falcons with Dan Quinn.
Yeah.
And I played all 3 positions. I played Sam, Mike, and Will that whole entire year. We had some injuries. And I remember it's like Wednesday practice before we're playing the Giants, and I'm in the linebacker room, and we're literally about to leave to go practice. And my linebacker coach, Jeff Albrecht, goes, "Yo, Stu." I'm like, "Hey, what's up?" He goes, "Oh yeah, you're starting at Sam this week." I'm like, he goes, "You good?" I'm like, "Yep." He leaves. Everyone leaves. I'm like, looking at the book. I'm like, I played Sam once in OTAs for one practice. OTAs
you had to learn this whole
before.
playbook.
And I go out there and practice. I'm messing up the calls and stuff. And Coach Smith, our D corner, is like, "Stupar, what are you doing? You're supposed to know this. It's on it out." I'm like, give me a day. I went home, studied, and was perfectly fine. I was like the highest rated linebacker for the Falcons
Nice.
of all the guys for like 6 weeks straight.
That's amazing.
And I balled out and played and
Put it down for the ATL.
yeah, right. And it was surreal because I was playing really well. And then I remember Jeff Albert's like, "Oh, you're about to get such a sick deal. You're about to get paid." I'm like, "Yeah." And ended up working out with the Saints with that and everything like that.
Yeah.
And then after my ACL, I wasn't really the same player. And luckily the Giants picked me back up. And
Was it James Beckner? What's his name? The coach
Yeah.
up there?
Yep.
Because he was pretty influential for you, too.
Dude, he was a good dude.
Yeah.
I loved his passion.
Yeah.
He was a really good dude. I loved him as a D coordinator.
You went there, you weren't at OTAs or anything. You had to literally learn a playbook in like
Week one.
week one.
I remember
That's
I
gotta
got
be
in.
so stressful.
Yeah, because I got in late, and I studied like all night. I'm like, I have to sleep, and I go out to practice, and it was a padded practice, and I didn't practice for like a week and a half, 2 weeks, and my knee locked up because from ACL I was going for like a whole year with nonstop and no rest, and my knee had a chance to recover, and it just like. And I remember I looked like a limp guy running around with like half a leg out there. And I remember they came up to me after practice like, "Hey, Stu, you good?" I'm like, "Give me a day. Give me a day." And I didn't go in one play, and James yelled at me. I'm like, "Bro, like I know every single play besides that play." He's like, "You can't have like a guy on practice squad going for you." I'm like, "I'm sorry. Like just it's been 8 hours."
Well, which is go ahead, I'm sorry.
But the cherry on top is the Jaguars come to play, and the first kickoff, I run down and I have a tackle inside the 20. I'm like, "Thank you, Jesus." Yeah. I'm like, I'm okay.
So he needed 1 day for recovery. I went to Hershey Park 2 weeks ago, and it took me 3 days recovery from the rides.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's the difference between professional athlete and John.
Well, listen, I get it, John. The wooden coasters will mess you up.
Oh, dude, I was
Those
so
coasters
beat up.
will
I was
shake
sick to my stomach. My back hurt. All from Hershey Park. I was like, you know what? I'm not doing it anymore. I said, I refuse to go to. I'm not doing amusement parks anymore. I was like, it took me 3 days to recover from amusement park.
Yeah.
You're talking about an ACL.
That's like me now.
I was going to say, if you rode a Wildcats or
my saying was just give me a day.
Yep.
Because the year with the Falcons, I went from Sam on the ball, off the ball, on and off the ball. And I was used to that when I used to play defensive end. So that helped me a lot, like playing that in the NFL, playing Sam. I loved it. It was such a natural position for me. But I remember going finally off the ball, and I was like so bad one practice, like messing up. And they're like, "Nate, what's wrong?" I'm like, "Give me a day. I was on the line of scrimmage for the past 4 weeks." I go, my eyes just need to adjust. I go, "Give me a day."
Yeah.
And I just ended up balling out again. You know what I mean?
That's
I'm
funny.
like,
That's awesome, though.
Just
What do you think
trust goals too.
made it possible for you, like being a 7th round pick, the odds of you staying in the league for as long as you did are not great, right? So what do you think helped you to stay in the league and staying around for as long as you did?
First of all, no matter what position, it's astronomical to play 8 years.
It's
I
unbelievable.
remember, I think Clay Harbor,
a
friend of mine, he came onto a video podcast like this, like a couple years ago, and he goes, "Do you know how many players in the whole entire league since its conception has played like 8+ years?"
1,000.
Yeah, it's been like 1,300 people,
Crazy.
and I'm one of those ever.
That's insane, man.
Of everyone who ever played in the NFL,
crazy.
and that just like is astronomical in my mind.
Yeah, the percentage of people that can do that is so low.
You know what the average career is? 3.3 years.
3.3 certain positions, but like for linebacker, running backs and stuff, I think it's like 2.8, 2.9.
Correct. Yeah, the whole average for the whole league is 3.3.
Yeah.
Right.
And to say like you did almost triple that.
Yeah.
So
By the grace of God.
that's what I'm saying. Like, what can you tell a listener? Like his question, what can you tell a listener? You were like, what?
Not many people get opportunities, but I got opportunities and I took them. I took advantage of them because I almost didn't have an opportunity with the Falcons because I almost quit again because I was like a third string Sam linebacker. Prince Shembo was in front of me.
Oh, yeah. I remember Shembo.
And I mean, I don't know if you remember the story though, but he kicked his girlfriend's dog and killed it and got cut.
No.
I didn't know
And that was my opportunity. I stepped in. I ended up starting first week that game.
Yeah.
for the Falcons, right?
Yeah, for the Falcons.
And you ended up having like your best years for the Falcons.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
And I'm just like, it's amazing of just the weird opportunities I got, and I took them.
Well, the thing that we've that's been on, and even Ben will attest to this, like on this show, and even when we talk to Skylar sitting over there, like we talk about these doors opening up.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, they're too afraid to go through that door.
Yeah.
To take advantage of an opportunity given to them.
Yeah.
And you've done that.
Yeah.
So and I probably hid from so many things, that opportunities that opened up for me in the past. He's probably done the same thing. And now when I see an opportunity open up, I'm taking it.
Yeah.
And like, I was so afraid to do those things in that growth at such a young age. And for you to be able to do it at a young age, because I didn't start taking these opportunities probably until my mid 30s.
Yeah.
And you're doing this in your early mid 20s, late 20s.
Yeah.
And like, to me, I think that's really neat. Like just the fact that every episode we have, we start talking about these doors that open up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And are you going to go through it?
Yeah. We've talked about it a lot. Like the one through line through all of the Good Hustle episodes is people that were willing to take risk and people that gave it their all. I mean, that's really it when it comes to success.
And I was just always prepared for that opportunity because I knew I was good enough. I've had tastes, little snippets of opportunities, and like when I got it, I knew that I wasn't going to let it go because like when I was on practice squad, every day I walked into like that special teams meeting room and my name was always third or fourth on the depth chart. And I walked in, I'm like, my name's going to be first one day. My name's going to be first one day. And it ended up being first for a very, very long time.
By the way, guys, if you're enjoying this episode of the Good Hustle podcast, please go ahead, leave a like, subscribe on the YouTube. And also, we are on Spotify and Apple Podcasts now. So if you want to listen without the video part, you can do that.
Yep. And if you're looking for any real estate needs, whether you're buying, selling, or investing, please contact Zach or myself. Our numbers are below. Back to the podcast.
I'm first on the depth chart, John?
100%.
As a podcast co-host. First on the depth chart. Yeah, so I guess switching lanes now from football and everything, I guess let's start talking about your life as it stands today, right?
Yep.
So first of all, how did you two meet? Can you talk about that?
So, really funny story. I get a call from Dan Sanchez, who does a ton of fundraising stuff. We were both
He's
nominated.
the man.
He is.
He's the man.
We were both nominated for Harrisburg Man of the Year in 2013 for Leukemia Lymphoma Society. It has nothing to do with us as humans. It's just we got called out to start helping donate, promote money for the LLS. So he calls me and says, hey, I have this Penn State tournament. So I ask a couple buddies and they can't go. So I'm like, okay, Bill Brennan.
It's always Bill Brennan.
Despises Penn State football with a passion.
You guys tricked him this year.
Oh, 100%. So I said, Bill, hey, can you do a golf tournament on June 22nd, which was the date? And he says, I might have to do something with my daughter. So I text his wife and I said, Maurice, she loves Penn State. I said, I know he's supposed to do something with Natalia, who that's where I came from. I was with Bill, Natalia, his wife, watching his daughter play golf. And I said, I'm tricking Bill into playing in a Penn State tournament with Penn State football players. She's like, oh, I'll make changes for that weekend. Like, you can definitely take him. So what we end up doing is I tell him we're playing at Broad Run, which is Westchester. Yeah. He's so excited to play this golf course. Has never played it. Get in the car, pick him up that morning. I hop on 322, and he's like, oh.
That's not
Jeff Arnold calls, who's one of our other buddies. He goes, hey, what's up, Bill? He's like, not much. He's like, you know where you're going to play today? Like, what are you talking about? He's like, you're going to play in a Penn State golf tournament. He said, we were on 81, a highway, and Bill literally opens the door.
Yeah, because you're not too far away.
No. He's like, if I get out and tuck and roll, he probably would have been okay. But he ended up having, like, it was really hot that day. I probably drank 17 bottles of water. But Bill, so hot. But Bill ended up, and I ended up having such a wonderful time at that tournament.
Good.
Never knew what State of Hope was. Yeah. Never knew anything about this. Didn't know what we were getting into. And there was a group of us guys. It was 40 guys that this group comes up.
Appreciate you, Dan.
Yep, Dan. Shout out Dan Sanchez. But that was the whole reason we met, was to go up to this tournament. And of course, and there's selfishness in my reason to go was like, I want to meet you. Yeah. I want to make connections for this show because I want to talk about your story. I want to talk about other player stories. I want to talk about State of Hope. Yeah. Right. Like there's definitely, there's always intent. But it was really fun. Like we had such a wonderful time getting to meet you. And the first thing that I honestly noticed about you was your humility, how humble you were. Because you went up and talked first. I was like, that's him. Like, he's so nice. Like, he's like the nicest guy I've met. Like,
he doesn't look that big. No. He didn't play football.
No, I did not think that.
He must have been a kicker.
I did not think that. I met both the kickers at that event, by the way. I met both them. But no, that was really neat to take Bill up there, trick him, and just To see him
special.
have fun in State College was like
Yeah.
a miracle within itself.
Right.
So speaking of State of Hope, you mentioned it a couple of times. What is State of Hope?
The State of Hope Foundation is me and my wife's foundation that we started back in 2016 to help disadvantaged kids coming from broken homes, single parents, foster program, drug abuse, and just less fortunate situations, and just bring a positive life impact to there and helping to bring a sense of hope and joy into their lives. It's Happy Valley, but there's a lot of dark areas around here, and growing up, you don't really see that. You don't really get to see that part because you don't pay attention, like kind of ignorant is bliss.
Yeah.
And coming back home and being a little bit more aware of the surrounding areas, and you really start hearing stories, and you start learning, and you start talking to other organizations around here and stuff like that. And my heart is so much for my community that gave me so much love and support through my career. I'm trying to do something now to help, because I mean there's stories where there was a woman who joined us for a Christmas shopping spree who her mom died, her car got totaled, and she got taken out of an abusive relationship and into a home, and she has 5 kids, and all she wanted was a Christmas tree. And I'm like, hey, bring your 5 kids, come to the shopping spree.
Yeah.
And there's
Which I want to talk about that. We have
and there's another one where one of my other friends where he had to take 2 kids in like a month before Christmas because the parents had to go to rehab for meth in Johnstown, and they're still taking care of him because the parents won't go to rehab.
And the other thing, like, you started this in 2016, like you said, you were in the middle of your NFL career.
Yeah.
Right.
And for you to be like, and I'm going to say the word because it's a typical, but like hometown hero coming up there. And not all heroes wear capes, and it's meant to be a very complimentary word for you, because honestly, putting yourself first, because to me, one of the things that I think about is, so I'm sober, 16 years almost.
Congrats, brother.
Thank you. Yeah. So service work keeps me sober.
Yeah.
So the more I do for others, the happier I am.
Yeah.
So like, and I've shared this on one of the last episodes, like the first thing I do in the morning, I take the dogs out and I make my fiance her breakfast because she's getting ready for work, and I don't want her stress.
Yeah.
I make her breakfast, and then I pack her cooler for the day.
Yeah.
Like doing something for her every morning. Sorry.
You're good, brother.
Like my life has changed so much because of things like State of Hope.
Yeah.
Like just getting involved with things that you do has made my life completely different. And then, which you don't know about Zach, Dad was a pastor, and Zach was a youth pastor for years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was a youth pastor for the last 2 years while I was doing real estate.
I was doing real estate.
Well, the long story short is that the other pastor had left. He took a full-time job in Nashville. No one could afford to do the youth pastor job. There wasn't paying a lot. And I was like, well, I have this real estate thing going. I have a little bit of free time. Let's do it. And so, I spent the last 2 years
awesome,
kind of
brother.
building that and everything. Yeah,
Amen.
thank you very much. Yes.
But isn't it like which is like, it's one of the reasons I love you so much, stuff like that. But to me, it's like giving back is so much more important than taking.
Yeah.
And like, that's what you guys are doing. And you guys have, so the annual celebrity golf tournament, which is all Penn State, which Bill will be back next year.
Good.
Forcing
With
him
a
back.
Penn State hat.
You don't have to trick him this time.
No, he'll probably wear a Notre Dame shirt this time, which I did see somebody
fine.
with a Texas shirt on. But
Oh, really?
but tell me about like carry-on backpacks.
Yeah, so that was one of our first original ones, Carry On, which is just a backpack program. So we get backpacks and we put a bunch of toiletries and stuff in it, like, toothpaste, toothbrushes, art supplies, books, coloring books, night lights, blankets and stuff like that. And I always try to throw a Bible in there.
Yeah, nice.
And we actually partnered up with Nittany Christian this year, and they actually have a lot of the families that bring in donation items and stuff because we had backpacks donated. And we were able to donate 44 backpacks this year to the Center County Children and Youth Services down in Bellefonte for the foster care program, which they absolutely love because these kids that are sometimes taken in the middle of the night don't have anything to their name. They might have a trash bag. They don't have backpacks. They don't have anything. I mean, they're super stoked when they see just like a normal backpack.
Yeah.
They have something
Can I ask you a
tangible.
mini question about that?
Yeah, go
Are
ahead.
you finding a lot of people in the community that need those kind of things? I think that would surprise a lot of people that there's a lot of kids out there that don't have that.
Yes, I believe so.
It's a lot more than you think.
Yeah, and I think it continues to get worse. You know what I mean?
Really?
With, the pricing and economy. And because, like, there's a lot more people that are just, like, going to the food bank, which you don't think these people need help. But with how inflation is and stuff like that, I mean, I think we have a lot of people in our church that go to that. You know what I mean? I mean, the church is helping, but, I mean, it's
when
crazy.
I go to the grocery store, and you have 4 daughters, so your daughters.
My weekly grocery bill is maybe like $400.
Yeah, Maya, Maddie, Ella, Annie.
Yeah.
So there's your 4 girls. So 6 of you in a household. There's only Taylor and I, and our grocery bills are ridiculous.
Luckily, my girls are all girls. I don't have any boys who just eat more.
They eat little bits.
Well, I don't know.
They're not eating tomahawk steaks yet.
Yeah, right? But no, they
He
do a
loves
good
his
job.
chicken nuggies. And
I do.
they ain't
Dino nuggies, John.
There you
He
go.
likes to eat
There
the
you go.
He's like, I eat the little arms.
That's not true.
You don't eat chicken fries? I miss the chicken fries
Oh, I
back in
love
the
chicken
day.
fries.
I love those,
Shout
too.
out Burger King with the chicken
Yep.
fries.
So the backpacks is huge.
Yes, it really is.
And like to me, I remember because we weren't super well off, and I remember a skunk sprayed one of somebody, and then my backpack stunk. I didn't have a backpack for the rest of the year.
Jeez.
Like I remember that. It was a JanSport. It was purple. It was really cool. Like it was I mean, it was blue, not purple, and it was a JanSport.
No judgment.
No judgment. Fine. I bought 2 purple shirts today. I don't care. But
Purple used to be my favorite color when I was a kid. So
purple and blue are my favorites. So, but then the other thing you do is you have the Penns Valley Youth Center programs. So you're doing a lot of stuff.
We have done a lot of stuff with them. It kind of fell off a little bit, but especially during COVID. But during COVID, we actually bought them a bus.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, they were like because
cool.
the whole school district shut down, and they couldn't get people to Penns Valley Youth Center.
Wow.
So we ended up paying some cash and bought them an old bus, and that's how they kind of like transported kids for a short period of time. Which I think they used that to get maybe like a different van or something like that.
Yeah.
But no, I want to get back to that. We have a lot going on and stuff, so it's tough to kind of pick and choose sometimes. Sometimes you do.
Like Chris Heisey. So Heisey, he played for the Reds, played for the Nationals. He was on the show.
He's an awesome guy.
Awesome Christian man.
Awesome.
He is, and all he does now is train kids and coach kids sports. And now part of my service work for sobriety was I went to this church, Camp Hill United Methodist. I'm not a member there, but I ended up coaching Upward Sports, which is through Christian-based sports for like 13 years.
Yeah.
And you don't know. Like for me, I wish I would have known about some of these programs because I got involved with the wrong people. Like my freshman year in high school is when I started with drugs.
Yeah.
That's when I started becoming a drug addict. And just seeing like, I didn't know there was any programs for anything.
Right.
I didn't know any of this stuff.
I know.
I didn't know anything existed. And I wish I would have known. Maybe my life would have shaped differently. But at the same time, like it's God's plan. And like Zach and I talk about this all the time. Like we could not be happier with where we are right now.
Yeah.
And people, when I speak at schools, they say, oh, how many regrets? Like, I mean, do I wish I did things different? Did I wish I would have played more high school sports, but I was always suspended? Yeah, I wish things would have been a lot different.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you about State of Hope, and there ain't nothing better in my life than that right now.
I never thought that too, man.
You know what I mean?
Where I'm at.
Right. Yeah, like it's so cool to be able to share this experience, strength, and hope with others to plant. Like, you know what? There is something I could do, even if it's, hey. You want to contact us and get an 8-1 backpack this year? That will help one kid up in State College area.
Right.
And you guys are helping 500 kids a year probably.
It's growing every single year, man. It's growing, and that's what's exciting about it because I mean, it's not about anything besides loving the community and loving the kids because the worst thing I can ever imagine is not having that opportunity. You know what I mean? I'm just trying to bring a slight of hope. I mean, that's why I love the logo. I think I have it on the hat. It's like a little leaf coming out. It's dirt.
Yeah.
So like something's growing out of a bad environment.
Yeah.
And it's been really, really fun of just loving those people around the community.
Well, and I think too, like just from a Christian perspective, like you're stewarding over the gifts and the money you made in the NFL and all that stuff that God gave you into the future, into the community, into the kids and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that transfer that you're being really intentional about to give things like that is really, really cool. That's awesome. That's awesome.
I mean,
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll ask Zach's question because I kind of want to ask it.
You're good.
The cool thing to me is, and I've got to be a part of some of this stuff before. the Target Christmas shopping spree that you
Yeah.
do with your wife, Marissa,
Yeah.
for these local foster kids or whoever needs help.
Yeah.
Isn't it like the most fun thing in the world?
It's so much fun to see the joy
sounds
on these kids. Well, first of all, I love dressing up as Buddy the Elf. So
I did.
That is
I
my-
have been dressed up as Buddy the Elf too. I love it.
Can you get us a
I
picture
wish-
of that?
Oh, there's one
Just-
online.
just
I
look
found
on-
it.
Ben, can we throw that
Yeah,
in
Ben,
that
I'll
video?
send it to
That'd be awesome.
But first of all, it's a joy to do that because like I love Elf, I love Will Ferrell and his movies. But Elf is just an all-time classic, which is weird to call it a classic now because we're getting that old.
Is there sugar?
Yeah.
Is there
Really
sugar in
Right.
syrup?
But anyways, we just had our fourth one last year, and the first one we had about 8 kids, then 12, then 15, or 18, and we jumped from that to 40. And we give these kids probably $250 or $300 to go into Target to get whatever they want. And we also give, the guardian or, the person taking them through a $100 gift card just for them.
Nice.
Because, they are dealing with a lot.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, hey, this is just for you. This is for you personally, not for the kids. This is for you. And this year, my goal is 50 plus probably another 25. So we'll probably have about 75 people in Target, and that's $15,000 budget.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Minimum.
Well, Zach and I will commit right now to $1,000. So
Thank you.
We're going to come up.
That's awesome.
I want to be there for this
Okay.
because
That sounds really good.
I've helped with some family. Nothing for I'm not. Anyway,
Thank you, brother.
yeah.
That's awesome. That was so unexpected.
So we'll do. Well, I wrote it, so it has to happen. So when you write things down, so
You're good.
I want to be there next year for. I have goosebumps right now. I want to be there next year for this, and yeah, we'll donate $1,000. It's going to help 4 kids.
Thank you.
100%. It's on us, and we would love to be a part of this next year. Come
Yeah.
up, and
Yeah.
I just want to to me, the joy in these kids' faces.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, and he's a youth pastor. Like he knows
Oh,
what
I
we're
love
talking
that.
about. I'm like coaching
love
kids
it.
for years. Like,
I want this not for being boastful about it, but because there's nothing like this in state college. There's nothing, not even close. I want to be able to go in there and go spend $100,000. I want to be able to go shut the store down and be like, hey, today is State of Hope's Christmas shopping spree, and it's shut down for the next 2 hours with this happening.
really
And
cool if they opened early for you.
yeah.
That'd be awesome.
And like I remember just supermarket sweep when you're going through.
Yeah.
It, you're just,
Yes. Oh,
like,
yeah.
like that's my goal for this community because there's people that can't even afford Christmas, let alone groceries. You know what I mean? And I'm expanding it this year to 2 different organizations. We usually have the Center County Children's Youth Services in Bellefonte, Keystone Family Alliance for more foster kids, and then I'm going to bring in Tides, and Tides is run by Holly Oxendale and my good friend Leslie Fenton. That's a big part of it, where just helping families that are dealing with struggle or loss, and these families are all their money is going to cancer bills.
Yeah.
They don't have money for Christmas. So I'm bringing some families from there this year. Then also I'm working with Go Reentry. Go Reentry, not many people know about it, but it's helping women who've been incarcerated. And Mark Fraley, who runs it, he has such a passionate heart. He goes into these to the jail and with these women and give nothing but love, which these women never had.
Yeah.
These women, I went to their banquet this year for fundraising, and these women, their parents are getting addicted to crystal meth at the age of 4.
Yeah, it's insane.
Then
Which is disgusting.
Then they're in sex trafficking. A couple years later, they're saying that they have 6 dads, and they end up in jail. They're like, I don't want to get out. I don't want to get out. Like, that's all I know. That's where I'm safe. Really? Safe in jail? And they have a kid outside of jail.
And there's people that feel comfortable in prison.
Yeah.
And that
Because that's all I know. Like, that's where they feel safe and secure.
We did an episode on sex trafficking with Green Light Operation.
Green light operation. Yeah.
And they're a local place that helps. They've helped 125 plus women. And the
There's
sex
a
trafficking
lot around it.
They're
You don't
teaching
see
the
it.
police
Yeah,
about it
because
the police don't know.
Yeah, and it happens in schools. It's about like, hey, it's
crazy.
disgusting.
It happens around more than you know.
Yes, and that's the part, because if it's underage, it just has to be a service. It doesn't have to be any money exchange. It's like,
It's unbelievable, man.
so
Disgusting.
So we'll kind of finalize with what can our listeners and viewers do to help? What's your website, that kind of stuff? Do you want to share that with us?
Of course. It's www.stateofhopefoundation.org.
Okay.
And everything's on there.
Okay.
I mean, if you want to donate, you can go there and donate. And I mean, if you have any questions, just reach out to info@stateofhopefoundation.org. That goes directly to me.
Got it.
Like, I'm the executive director, so I basically run the foundation with me and my wife. Joe Gaz is the president, who's good friends with Dan Sanchez, and my buddy Kyle, who is the treasurer. And just give. I mean, if there's someone out there that can just give $15,000 to the Christmas shopping spree just like that, there's people like that who can write checks like that.
Amen.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're,
and they'll be the most surprised people that you never expected.
Yeah.
Which is the coolest part.
And like, I'm never the one who loves to ask for money. It's more like, hey, this is the cause. I'm very passionate about it.
Yeah.
If you are passionate, do what you feel the Lord's leading you to give.
Yep.
I'm never going to force you like, hey, I need $10,000. Can you give me $10,000?
I just felt it when we were talking.
If you give me $100, I'm like, thank you so much.
Yeah.
I go, that pays for this for at least 1 month or something like that.
And that's
like,
what you
we're not a big organization.
Yeah.
I'm like basically the only person that kind of runs it. Like the golf tournament, I brought someone else on, and me and Tammy McLaughlin basically ran the whole entire golf tournament up until like a week or two before the golf tournament. And so I want this to be such a huge movement foundation in State College that you can't think of Penn State without State of Hope.
Yep,
because that's the impact we're having.
And that's how we want to help. We also
appreciate
want to do
that.
so. Reach out, State of Hope
Foundation.org.
Yes. And info at
State of Hope Foundation.
Okay, got it.
.org.
Yeah, just listen to him. Don't listen to me. But we're excited to help. And when you were talking about it, I was like, in my head, I'm like, I'm going to help 4 kids. Like, we can help 4 kids.
It's amazing.
That's how I was feeling. And, that's directly from above.
Yeah, right.
So we're excited to have you. That was
Appreciate
awesome. Because like I said, when I met you, I wanted to talk about this. It wasn't about you and your NFL career, which is an amazing thing to talk about, which I love sharing that story. But this is the good stuff.
I want to add one side thing, and it's a sensitive subject because of how it all went down. But the second mile officially closed in 2016, and our missions, without me even knowing, because I didn't really know second mile growing up and stuff like that, were very similar of the missions. They closed down in 2016, and we officially opened in 2016.
Yeah.
And I always get goosebumps talking about this because when one door closes,
Another one opens.
God had a way out of the whole, Sandusky thing, kind of what happened, and the kids getting shafted with, because the second mile did good stuff. Let's not say it was tainted. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I'm trying to move past that and bring grace and forgiveness and trying to get back to what we're capable of.
Yeah, amen.
And I think your listeners and people watching this, they want that too. And I'm just trying to reunite that passion, that fire in Center County to help everyone around there, because it's such a special place.
Grace is one of my favorite words.
Amen.
Because that's God-given. That's all it is.
It renews every single day.
It does, amen.
And I need it. Trust me.
Amen.
Amen.
Yeah, because I'm an idiot. I need it all the time. So. But listen, thank you so much. And I'm glad you finished with that, because I think it's really important for everybody to understand that, grace. Let's move forward. Let's help who we can. And let's give a better name for that community. So let's do it. So we're here to help.
Appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me.
Coming on, man.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
No problem. Thank you so much.